At Christmas dinner, my mother-in-law slapped me in front of the entire family and broke the ornament my daughter had spent 3 weeks making for her. The slap was loud, but the sound I remember most was smaller. Wood hitting tile. A tiny painted angel, no bigger than my palm, bounced once under the dining table and cracked across the wings. My daughter, Sophie, had painted it herself with gold dots, uneven eyes, and the word Grandma written in purple marker on the back because she still believed gifts made with love could soften people who had never wanted to be soft with us. Patricia stood over me with her hand still raised. "You'll always be trailer trash," she said. "Take your daughter and get out of my house." For 8 years, I had trained myself not to look at my husband during moments like that. Ethan would freeze. Ethan would swallow. Ethan would say, "Mom, come on," in a voice too weak to protect anyone. Then, later in the car, he would apologize and explain that his mother was stressed, his sister was dramatic, the holiday made everyone emotional, but that night, something changed. Not when Patricia slapped me, when Sophie whispered, "Mommy, did Grandma break my angel because we're poor?" Ethan went still. The whole room went silent. He looked at our daughter, then at the broken ornament, then at the red print blooming across my cheek. He did not yell. He did not argue. He did not give his mother the fight she knew how to win. He knelt down, picked up every piece of Sophie's ornament, placed them in the little gift box, and said, "We're leaving." Patricia laughed once, sharp and certain. "You'll be back tomorrow," she said. "You always are." Ethan zipped Sophie's coat, took my hand, and walked us out into the snow. The next morning, Patricia called our house crying. Not because she was sorry. Because for the first time in 29 years, the son who fixed everything did not come. My name is Nora Whitaker, and before that Christmas, I believed dignity meant enduring cruelty quietly enough that your child would not notice. I was wrong. Children notice silence more than adults think. They notice the way a room tightens when Grandma says something sweet with a knife inside it. They notice their father laughing too late at a joke that hurt their mother. They notice when handmade gifts are set aside while expensive ones are praised. They notice when the woman who gave birth to their father treats their mother like a visitor who overstayed. I grew up in a trailer outside Lancaster, Ohio. A real one, not the insult Patricia used like a brand. 2 bedrooms, thin walls, a porch my father patched with scrap wood, and a kitchen table where my mother made every dollar turn into 3 meals and a school permission slip. We were poor. Yes, we were also clean, funny, stubborn, generous, and loved. Patricia never heard the last 5 words. The first time Ethan took me home to meet his family, she looked at my boots before she looked at my face. Mud on the heel, discount store coat, no college sweatshirt, no family name she recognized. She smiled and said, "Well, Ethan always did like projects." I laughed because I thought she was joking. Ethan squeezed my hand under the table. Later he said, "Ignore her. That's just Mom." That sentence became the weather report of our marriage. That is just Mom. When she corrected my grammar in front of guests, that is just Mom. When she told Ethan I would never understand real stability, that is just Mom. When she asked whether my family used wrapping paper or grocery bags at Christmas, that is just Mom. When his sister Vanessa called me budget bride during wedding planning, that is just Vanessa. When Ethan stayed silent, that is just how he survives them. I loved him, so I learned to survive them too. Then Sophie was born, and survival became more expensive. Because every insult that landed on me eventually taught my daughter where her mother was allowed to stand. That Christmas started with a gift box. Sophie was 9, old enough to understand money, but young enough to believe effort still mattered most. In early December, she announced she wanted to make ornaments for Ethan's whole family. Not buy them. Make them. I loved the idea immediately and feared it just as fast. Patricia's living room looked like a catalog. Her tree had a color scheme. Her stockings matched. Her presents came from department stores with embossed tags and ribbon stiff enough to hold a shape. Vanessa's gifts usually arrived in glossy bags with tissue paper exploding out of them like trophies. Sophie's ornaments came from our kitchen table, wooden cutouts from the craft store, paint pots, glitter glue, ribbon, a cheap wood burner I handled while Sophie dictated names. She made a snowman for Uncle Ryan, a cardinal for Vanessa, A gold star for Grandpa's memory, because Ethan's father had died years earlier, and the little angel for Patricia. The angel took the longest. Sophie painted the hair silver, because Patricia dyed hers winter blonde. She added tiny red shoes, because Patricia always wore red lipstick, and Sophie thought matching mattered. She wrote Grandma on the back, then crossed it out because the letters were crooked, then cried because she thought she ruined it. I told her love was allowed to have crooked letters. She smiled. That memory still hurts. On Christmas afternoon, before we left, I found Ethan in the garage checking the tire pressure, even though the tires were fine. Avoidance sometimes wears practical clothes. You nervous? I asked. He did not look up, just want the drive to be safe. Ethan, he sighed. Please, Nora, let's just get through dinner. That was our holiday prayer. Not let it be joyful. Not let my wife feel welcome. Not let our daughter be cherished. Just let us get through it. I should have turned the car around then. Instead, I smoothed Sophie's hair, packed the ornament box, and told myself one peaceful night was possible if I stayed careful enough. Careful enough is a lie women are handed when other people refuse to be kind. Patricia's house glowed when we arrived. White lights wrapped every railing. A wreath hung on the door. Snow covered the hedges, softening everything into the kind of beauty that makes outsiders believe a family must be warm inside. Ethan carried the casserole I had baked. Sophie carried the ornament box with both hands like a sacred offering. Vanessa opened the door wearing velvet and a smile that had never reached me once in 8 years. Oh, she said, looking at the box. Crafts again? Sophie beamed. I made everyone one. How sweet, Vanessa said, already bored. Inside, the house smelled like ham, cinnamon, pine candles, and judgment. Patricia kissed Ethan's cheek, kissed Sophie's forehead, then looked at me. Nora, she said, as if announcing a delay. Merry Christmas, Patricia. She glanced at my casserole. How thoughtful. We already have sides, but I am sure someone will want it. Ethan heard. I know he heard because his jaw moved. But he said nothing. Dinner began politely enough. That is how these things work. Cruel families rarely start with explosions. They start with tiny tests. Vanessa describing the ski trip they had booked. Patricia complimenting Sophie's dress while mentioning it looked homemade in a charming way. Ethan refilling everyone's water, like usefulness, could excuse silence. After dinner, Sophie asked if she could hand out her ornaments. My heart tightened. Patricia waved one hand. Of course, sweetheart. Sophie gave Uncle Ryan the snowman. He smiled genuinely and thanked her. She gave Vanessa the cardinal. Vanessa turned it over and said, Oh, homemade. That word again. Sophie's smile faltered. I said gently, She worked really hard on them. Vanessa set the ornament on the coffee table, not the tree. I can tell. Patricia looked at it and sighed. Children should learn early that effort is lovely. But presentation matters. I felt heat rise in my face. Patricia, please, I said. Not tonight. The room shifted. It was the smallest boundary. A single sentence. No insult, no raised voice. Just please, not tonight. Patricia slowly set down her wineglass. You do not correct me in my house. Ethan said, Mom, but Patricia was already standing. The slap came so fast I did not even lift my hand. One moment Patricia was across the room. The next, her palm struck my cheek with a crack that made Sophie gasp. My head turned, my eyes watered. The room froze around me like everyone had become furniture. Then the ornament fell. I do not know who knocked it from the table. Maybe Vanessa when she stood, maybe Patricia's sleeve, maybe the shock of motion itself. Sophie's angel hit the tile and cracked across both wings. Patricia looked at me, not the ornament. You'll always be trailer trash, she said. Take your daughter and get out. My face burned, not from pain, from recognition, because every quiet insult over 8 years had only been rehearsal for saying that sentence out loud. I looked at Ethan. For one terrifying second, he looked exactly as he always had in his mother's house, torn, ashamed, 10 years old in a grown man's body, waiting for anger to pass so he could repair the room afterward. I thought not again, then Sophie spoke. Mommy, did Grandma break my angel because we're poor? I watched those words hit my husband, not Patricia, not Vanessa, Ethan. His whole face changed. Something inside him seemed to step forward and refuse to move back. He knelt beside Sophie. No, baby. His voice was soft but steadier than I had ever heard it in that house. Grandma broke it because she forgot people matter more than presents. Patricia inhaled sharply. Ethan Carter, He did not look at her. He picked up the broken angel, first the body, then one wing, then the other, then the tiny red ribbon. He placed each piece into Sophie's gift box with a care that made me cry harder than the slap. Vanessa said, "Oh, come on. This is dramatic." Ethan stood. "No," he said. "This is finished." Patricia's face went pale with fury. "You will not walk out on your mother on Christmas." Ethan helped Sophie into her coat, then mine. His hand shook when he touched my sleeve. "I should have walked out years ago," he said. Nobody answered. We left the casserole on the counter, the gifts under the tree, and the silence behind us. Outside, snow fell in the porch light. Sophie held the broken ornament box against her chest all the way to the car. The drive home was almost completely quiet. Snow moved across the windshield in silver streaks. Ethan kept both hands on the wheel. Sophie sat in the back seat with her coat hood still up, one thumb rubbing the corner of the gift box. I pressed a napkin full of ice from Patricia's freezer against my cheek because I had grabbed it without thinking before we left. After 15 minutes, Sophie asked, "Is Daddy mad at me?" Ethan made a sound like something tearing. "No," he said immediately. "Never. Grandma looked mad when I asked the question. That is because you told the truth. I didn't mean to make Christmas bad." I turned in my seat carefully. "Sweetheart, you did not make Christmas bad. Someone hurt people. That is what made it bad." She nodded, but I could see the child math happening behind her eyes. Kids add themselves to every conflict unless someone stops them quickly. Ethan pulled into a gas station, parked under the bright canopy lights, and turned around fully. "Sophie," he said, "look at me." She did. "I am sorry I let people speak to your mom that way for so long. I thought keeping the peace helped. It didn't. It taught you that peace means mommy gets hurt quietly. That was wrong." I stared at him. No excuse, no softening. "No, but Grandma." No, everyone was emotional. "Just truth," Sophie whispered. "Are we going back?" Ethan looked at me first. That mattered. "I am not," I said. He nodded. "Then we are not. At home?" Sophie went straight to the kitchen table and opened the gift box. The angel lay in pieces. She touched one wing. "Can we fix it?" I wanted to say yes quickly. Mothers want to fix every broken thing before children feel the full shape of loss. But Ethan sat beside her and said, "We can try, but it will not look exactly the same." Sophie thought about that. Maybe that is okay. We glued the ornament together at midnight with craft glue and trembling hands. The crack still showed across the wings. Ethan looked at it and said, "We should keep it where we can see it." I asked why. "So I never forget what silence costs." That was the first Christmas gift he ever gave me that mattered. The next morning, Patricia called at 6:42, then 6:49, then 7:03, then Vanessa, then Patricia again. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, staring at the phone like it was a test he had failed for 29 years and was finally allowed to retake. Sophie slept upstairs. The repaired angel sat in the center of the table on a napkin, wings uneven, ribbon crooked, glue still drying. "Do you want to answer?" I asked. He shook his head. At 7:18, Patricia left a voicemail. Ethan played it on speaker because he said secrets had helped too much already. Her voice filled the kitchen, thin and panicked. "Ethan, I need you to call me immediately. The furnace stopped during the night, and your sister does not know what to do. The basement pipes are making noises. I know you are upset, but this is not the time to punish your mother." Punish, not apologize. Not I am sorry. Not how is Nora's face. Not is Sophie okay. The furnace. Ethan leaned back and closed his eyes. For years he had been the family emergency service. Furnace filters, tax forms, insurance renewals, broken doors, doctor appointments, tech support, late bills, leaking gutters, Vanessa's car trouble, Patricia's credit card disputes. He fixed everything because his father died early, and Patricia never allowed him to stop being the man of her house, even after he became the husband in mine. I had resented it. I had also pitied him. That morning, pity finally had boundaries. "She has Vanessa," I said. "Vanessa does not know where anything is. That is not your emergency." His eyes opened. I could see the war in him. Son against husband. Habit against truth. Fear against the memory of our daughter holding a broken angel. Then he turned the phone off. "I know." 2 words, small, enormous. By noon, Vanessa sent a message. "Mom is freezing. Stop being cruel." Ethan stared at it, then typed back. "Call a licensed HVAC company. Do not contact Nora." Vanessa replied with 6 angry paragraphs. Ethan did not read them aloud. That was new too. The first week after Christmas felt like living inside a door we had finally closed, while people kept throwing themselves against it. Patricia called Ethan's work. Vanessa texted me from a new number, accusing me of poisoning him. Uncle Ryan left a message saying families fight, but wives should not separate sons from mothers. I saved everything because my sister Leah, who works as a paralegal, said documentation is what protects women from stories. Ethan changed our locks, not because Patricia had a key. Because she had always believed she did. That distinction mattered. On the third day, he went into the garage and brought in 3 file boxes I had never seen. They were labeled in his blocky handwriting: Mom House, Mom Medical, Mom Financial. He set them on the dining table. "What is all this?" I asked. "My other marriage," he said. He meant it as a joke. It landed as truth. Inside were 12 years of receipts and records. Property taxes he had paid when Patricia came up short, furnace repairs, roof estimates, medical bills, grocery gift cards, Vanessa's unpaid phone plans, insurance renewals, credit card settlements, notes from appointments Patricia claimed she handled alone, lists of passwords, warranty numbers, contractor contacts. I sat down slowly. "How much?" I asked. He did not pretend not to understand. Over 80,000, if I count everything. I pressed my fingers to my mouth. $80,000. While Patricia mocked our grocery budget. While Vanessa laughed at handmade gifts. While Ethan and I delayed replacing our car. While Sophie used the same winter coat for 3 years because I said she would outgrow a new one too fast. "Why didn't you tell me?" His face crumpled. "Because then I would have had to admit I was choosing them with our money while asking you to be patient with their disrespect." The honesty hurt, but lies had hurt longer. He slid a folder toward me. On top was a handwritten note from his father Harold, written before he died. "One day you will have to choose between being useful to your mother and being faithful to your family. Choose the people who can be harmed by your silence." I read it twice. Then I looked at the repaired ornament on the table. Harold had understood the bill long before it came due. Patricia showed up on New Year's Eve, not with an apology, with Vanessa. They arrived at our front door just after lunch, both dressed like they were attending a hearing they expected to win. Patricia wore a wool coat and pearls. Vanessa held a folder of her own, probably bills, because consequences often become paperwork before they become wisdom. Ethan opened the door but did not step aside. That alone changed the air. Patricia looked past him, trying to find me. "I want to speak to my son." "You are," Ethan said. Her mouth tightened. "Alone." "No," Vanessa scoffed. "This is ridiculous. Nora, we know you are back there." I was in the hallway, visible enough to refuse hiding, far enough to let Ethan handle what belonged to him. Patricia's eyes landed on the yellowing bruise across my cheek. Something flickered in her face. Not remorse, not yet. Recognition that evidence could be seen. She looked away. "We need the house documents," she said. "The tax notice came, and your brother cannot find anything." Ethan nodded. "I have copies ready." He handed her a folder through the doorway. Patricia blinked. She had expected entry, coffee, control, a chance to turn our living room into her courtroom. "What is this?" "Instructions, contacts, account numbers, payment deadlines, everything you need." Vanessa snatched it. "So you are just abandoning Mom?" "No," Ethan said. "I am returning responsibility to adults." Patricia's face hardened. "After all I sacrificed for you?" Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Mom, you slapped my wife and called her trash in front of my daughter." Vanessa rolled her eyes. It was one slap. I stepped forward then. Ethan looked at me, asking silently if I wanted the floor. I did. "One slap is enough," I said. "One broken ornament is enough. One child asking if poverty makes her mother disposable is enough." Patricia flinched at that. "Good," I continued. "You do not get to ask for help from the family you threw out until you understand who you hurt." Patricia's eyes filled suddenly, but I did not trust tears that arrived after bills. Ethan closed the door gently. Behind it, Vanessa began shouting. Inside, Sophie appeared at the top of the stairs, holding the repaired angel. "Are they mad again?" she asked. I looked at Ethan. He answered, "They are learning." Learning did not happen quickly. In January, Patricia hired a repairman for the furnace and complained about the cost to everyone who would listen. In February, Vanessa discovered property taxes do not care about family drama. In March, Uncle Ryan called Ethan and quietly asked where the shutoff valve was, because a plumber had quoted an emergency fee that made everyone gasp. Ethan sent a photo with an arrow. That was all. No drive over, no toolbox. No apology tour disguised as help. At home, Sophie changed too. The first change was small. She stopped asking whether we were going to Patricia's every Sunday. Then she stopped apologizing when she spilled juice or broke a crayon, as if accidents might get her exiled. One night while we were putting laundry away, she said, "Our house feels bigger now." "It does?" She nodded. "Because nobody is mad in it." I walked into the bathroom and cried quietly where she would not see. Ethan started therapy in February. He said it like a confession. "I think I need help understanding why Mom's disappointment feels like danger." I wanted to hug him and shake him. Instead, I said, "I am proud of you. Marriage after a boundary is not instantly beautiful. It is awkward, honest, sometimes angry. I had years of swallowed resentment lodged in places kindness could not reach. Ethan had guilt so large he kept trying to repair me faster than I could heal. We argued about money, his mother, my silence, his silence, Sophie, holidays, everything that had been politely avoided until politeness became rot. But this time, arguments ended with truth instead of surrender. One evening, he said, "I thought if I kept everyone calm, I was protecting you." I said, "You were protecting the people who made calm impossible." He nodded. No defense. That was how trust began returning, not through flowers, not through promises, through the absence of excuses. In April, Sophie's schools held a spring art show. She entered the repaired Christmas Angel under the title Broken but Still Beautiful. It won honorable mention. She came home with a ribbon and asked if we could hang it by the ornament. We did. The crack across the wings caught the light. I stopped hating it. Patricia's first real apology came in May. It arrived in the mail, handwritten on cream paper. I left it unopened for 2 days because an envelope can feel like a trap when the person who sent it has turned words into weapons before. Finally, Ethan and I opened it together. "Nora, I have written this too many times and torn it up because every version sounded like an excuse. I slapped you, I insulted you, I humiliated you in front of your child. There is no way to soften that. I called you trailer trash because I am ashamed of where I came from. My father lost jobs, drank, and moved us from one rented trailer to another when I was a girl. I spent my life pretending I had climbed out of that history by looking down on it. Then my son married someone who reminded me of the girl I hated being, and I punished you for a wound you did not make. That is not your burden. I am sorry for breaking Sophie's ornament. I am more sorry for teaching her that love can be cruel. I do not ask to be forgiven. I ask only for the chance to make restitution if you ever allow it, Patricia." I read the sentence about the trailer twice, not because it excused her, because it explained the familiar precision of her cruelty. Some people throw stones at the home they survived because they are terrified someone will see they once lived there. Ethan cried when he read it. I did not. My tears had been used up earlier, maybe on Christmas Eve. Maybe in the bathroom after Sophie said our house felt bigger. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I do not know. For once, he accepted that as an answer. In June, Patricia sent a package addressed to Sophie. We did not give it to her immediately. Ethan called first and said, "What is this?" Patricia answered, "Something I should have protected." Inside was the cardinal ornament Sophie had made for Vanessa, the one that had been mocked and abandoned on the coffee table. Patricia had saved it. She had also included a small wooden display stand and a note to Sophie. "Your hands made something beautiful. I am sorry I let anyone treat it like less." Sophie read it quietly. Then she said, "Can Grandma learn?" I said, "People can learn if they stop pretending they already know." Sophie nodded like that made sense. Children understand repentance better than adults because they still believe change should be visible. We invited Patricia to our 4th of July cookout, with rules, not forgiveness. Rules: no comments about my childhood, no comments about money, no comments about handmade things, no jokes at my expense, no private conversations with Sophie until trust rebuilt. If anyone crossed the line, the visit ended. Ethan delivered the rules himself. Patricia said, "I understand." Vanessa did not come. That was her choice, and frankly a gift. Patricia arrived with potato salad, no pearls, and her hair less perfect than usual. She looked smaller in our backyard, not because she was weak, but because she had finally entered a space she did not control. She did not hug me. She asked first, "May I?" I said, "Not yet." She nodded and did not punish me for it. That was new. After dinner, Sophie brought out the repaired angel and the cardinal on their little stands. Patricia sat at the picnic table and looked at them for a long time. "I kept the pieces," she said. Sophie tilted her head. "Of my angel?" Patricia nodded. "Your dad took most of them, but I found a tiny piece under the table after you left. A gold dot from the wing." She opened her purse and took out a small plastic bag. Inside was a splinter of painted wood, barely bigger than a sunflower seed. "I did not know what to do with it," she said, "so I kept it." Sophie looked at me. I said, "It belongs to you." Sophie took the bag carefully. "Maybe we can glue it on the back," she said, "so it remembers." Patricia covered her mouth. That was when she cried, not the next morning crying of a woman whose furnace was broken and son was unavailable. Different tears. Quieter. Less useful. More expensive. "I am sorry," she said to Sophie. "I am sorry I made you feel small." Sophie thought for a long time. Then she said, "You made Mommy feel small first." Patricia closed her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "I did." Sophie leaned against my side. I wrapped an arm around her. No one rushed her toward forgiveness. No one told her to hug. No one turned her pain into Patricia's comfort. That was the first family gathering where my daughter's dignity stayed in the room until the end. There is a detail from that Christmas Eve I did not understand until weeks later. When Ethan picked up the broken angel, he did not ask Sophie where the pieces were. He already knew. He had been watching the floor. Watching damage happen and calculating how to clean it up. That is what his mother had trained him to do. Not stop the break. Not name the hand that broke it. Just Nissi afterward, gather pieces, fix what could be fixed, and make sure no one stepped on anything sharp. That was his whole childhood. After his father died, Patricia did not fall apart in obvious ways. She became elegant grief, controlled grief. A woman in pressed blouses who could not understand taxes, furnaces, insurance, grief, loneliness, or Vanessa's chaos without Ethan standing beside her. At 12, he learned where the toolbox was. At 14, he called repairmen. At 16, he skipped school to take her to appointments. By 20, he was a son, handyman, emotional husband, and replacement father. Everyone praised him for being responsible. No one asked what responsibility had stolen. So when Patricia insulted me, Ethan did what he had always done. He prepared to pick up pieces. Then Sophie gave the pieces a voice. Did Grandma break my angel because we're poor? That question did what I had never been able to do. It made the pattern visible to the person who had lived inside it the longest. I struggled with guilt too, though not the kind people expected. I did not feel guilty for leaving. I did not feel guilty for refusing Patricia's calls. I did not feel guilty when the furnace repair cost more than she wanted, or when Vanessa discovered adulthood has due dates. I felt guilty because part of me was relieved. Relieved not to spend Sundays bracing. Relieved not to edit every sentence before speaking. Relieved not to watch Sophie hand love to people who weighed it against price tags. Relieved that the slap had been loud enough for no one to call me sensitive anymore. That relief made me ashamed at first. What kind of woman feels relief after being humiliated on Christmas? Then Leah told me something I wrote down and kept on my mirror for months. Sometimes the worst day is also the day the evidence finally becomes visible. She was right. For years, Patricia's cruelty lived in tones, glances, pauses, jokes, little phrases Ethan could soften later. After the slap, there was no softening. There was my cheek, my daughter's question, the broken angel, Ethan's decision, a room full of witnesses. Evidence can be painful and merciful at the same time. It ended the debate about whether I had imagined it. The first repair Ethan made was not with his mother. It was with Sophie. A week after Christmas, he took her to the hardware store, just the two of them. I thought they were buying glue or replacement hooks for the ornament display. Instead, they came home with a small wooden shadow box, clear front, soft backing, and a tiny brass latch. Ethan helped Sophie mount the repaired angel inside it, not hiding the crack, framing it. He let her choose the backing color. She chose dark blue because, she said, gold shows better on dark. Then Ethan wrote a note on the back of the frame. Christmas was the night I learned protecting peace is not the same as protecting people. He showed it to me before attaching it. I cried harder than I expected. Sophie asked if the note was for Grandma. Ethan said no. It is for me, he told her, so I remember. She looked at him very seriously. You remembered fast when I asked. His face folded. Not fast enough, he said. Fast enough for that night, she answered. Children can be unbearably generous. That is why adults must be careful not to make their forgiveness into a job. 1 month later, Sophie asked if broken things could still be gifts. I told her yes, if the people holding them stopped pretending the cracks were shameful. She looked at the angel, then at Ethan, then at me. Then maybe it is stronger now, she said. I did not correct her. Some truths arrive first through children, and adults spend the rest of their lives catching up to them. Truly, painfully, beautifully, finally, all of us changed. We did not become a perfect family after that. Perfect families do not exist. There are only honest families and pretending ones. Patricia visits once a month now, sometimes twice. She calls before coming. She brings Sophie craft supplies instead of expensive guilt gifts. She still slips sometimes, usually with a comment sharpened by old fear, but now Ethan catches it before I have to. The first time he said, "Mom, stop." Without hesitation, I went into the pantry and breathed through the shock of being protected quickly. Vanessa remains distant. She sent one text months later saying everyone had overreacted. I did not respond. Some people prefer the old version of a family because it allowed them to be cruel without paperwork. Ethan no longer manages Patricia's life for free. He helps sometimes. So do Kevin and Ryan. Patricia hired a bookkeeper for bills and a handyman for repairs. Amazing how many miracles occur when women stop donating unpaid labor through their husbands. As for Sophie's ornament, it hangs in our dining room year-round. A Christmas angel in July, a cracked wing in September, a purple grandma on the back, still crooked, still there. Near the end of this video, I want to ask you something directly. I pinned a question in the comments. If your mother-in-law slapped you at Christmas and broke your child's handmade gift, would you ever let her back into your life after an apology, or would that door stay closed forever? Go to that pinned comment and tell me your honest opinion. I want to know where you draw the line between repentance and access. And if this story made you think of a woman who has been told to stay quiet to keep peace, stay close to she chose herself. Every voice here helps another mother remember that peace built on humiliation is not peace, it is training. My mother-in-law slapped me. She broke my daughter's Christmas angel. My husband finally stopped being the son who fixed everything. The next morning, she cried because the furnace was cold. Months later, she cried because she understood the room she had made cold first. Those tears were not the same, and neither was I. The angel is still cracked, so is the family. But now, when light hits the broken wing, it shines exactly where the damage used to hide.